Hello and welcome to the 2017 African Regional Conference in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. I'm joined now by Idrissa Diop, who's the Group Head of Compliance at Ecobank. Idrissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, there's lots of discussions this year around issues of de-risking and compliance. You've just finished a panel on de-risking this morning. Perhaps to get us started on the topic, how big of a problem is de-risking for Africa today?
De-risking is threatening the overall financial inclusion of Africa because major correspondent banks have fear about the risk they are seeing. So now the problem is to which extent now the African financial institutions are able to set the right measure to convince these correspondent banks to come back and to stop the de-risking process. But it's an issue which is impacting, as I was saying, financial inclusion, but also the ability of our local SMEs or corporates to grow or to expand. That's an issue. Yeah.
Now, is this a problem that's really impacting, say, some of the smaller banks in smaller markets who don't have the resources and capacity to comply with these stringent measures?
Yeah, indeed it impacts small financial institutions which do not have the spread, or who do not invest enough, who don't have the means to invest in technology and processes, and this once again comes back on impacting their final customers. Mm-hmm. So most of the time in some countries, these small banks do not have relationship to grow, to build between financial institutions, and it impacts their activity, it impacts their customers, and finally it impacts the local economy.
As you mentioned, it's hitting the SMEs, it's hitting the poorest people.
Absolutely.
This is having a huge impact on that whole inclusion agenda, so it's a big problem. Yeah. Now, you mentioned on stage that communication is key, that developing sort of discipline within financial institutions is key to meet these requirements. Mm-hmm. If you can, Idrissa, in about a minute, can you tell us what is the answer here to this problem?
The answer is at three levels. The first level is the regulators. They must push for more discipline. They must push for more clear regulations, okay? And once this framework is set, then comes the duty for the banks to embed them in their process by investing in systems, by updating their processes, updating their policies and procedures, communicating, educating, training the staff to understand what to do to protect the credibility of the bank, and what to do to make understand our external counterparties, like the correspondent banks, that internal processes are strong, so that the confidence stays. Mm-hmm. And major will be able to process out or in the trades of our customers. This is the second layer. The third layer is coming from the financial institution to their customer, to which extent they are able to kind of educate them, to have also a better understanding of what the customer is doing, where the money is from, where the money is going, okay, which kind of activity are really handled by the SME or the corporate, etc. Understand the flow of the money, understand the network of relationship they must be having across the world, because ultimately, if somebody decides to go buy wood in Brazil, it's because he knows somebody buying the wood in Brazil. So who is this seller? These are the information that the bank must be able to collect and secure, but with the collaboration of the customer. So it's key.
And can I just ask you there on that issue of collaboration and dialogue between correspondent banks, their respondent partners, between regulators on the one hand and international regulators and local regulators, are those conversations happening? Is the dialogue flowing in a way that it wasn't perhaps a few years ago?
Yeah, I see improvement. For example, let's just illustrate right now in the West African region, the central bank is driving a strong change, which is Basel II, Basel III, And this is going to help banks to better have strong structure. But in terms of regulation also, be it money laundering, financial fighting terrorism, also we see regulation coming in and aligning with FATF standard and international best practices. And regulators are pushing for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, things are improving. It's not that speed, but I have seen the effort from the regulators across Africa. Since I'm privileged to monitor several countries, yeah, I see it.
Okay, yeah. So it's slow progress.
It's a slow progress, but it's coming.
Great.
Yeah, I have hope that we're going to be there.
Okay.
But once again, I think that the correspondent bank must understand that they also have their own issue because most of the fines come from them, you know. So oftentimes I ask them, okay, you are doing due diligence on me, but I also have to do due diligence on you because it's the money of my customer that you are transferring. So how can I trust you? So then come the trust again.
Right.
Because if you see major bank being fined and still coming to you to transfer your money, you can still ask your question. So let's have trust in between us, and everybody will do the right work to avoid this de-risking, because it's again strengthening the economy of Africa. I mean, the economy of the poor countries, I would say. I'm focused on Africa, but same issue, we can see it in Latin America, sure, or somewhere else.
Or the Caribbean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there, ultimately, we have human beings which are on a daily basis impacted. And one must not take this decision like this. I don't understand de-risking from an economic point of view, you know, because if it is properly analyzed, if it is properly handled, it can be a win-win process. But once again, discipline must be in every stage.
Idrissa, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure for me.